You built the most powerful institution in human history entirely by accident. No committee, no blueprint, no founder, just a slightly confused primate and a thunderstorm. Religion is the most successful thing humans have ever made. It has outlasted every empire, every language, every government. And the origin story is embarrassing. Not a visionary, not a prophet, a frightened mammal with a broken pattern detector. That's it. That's the whole origin. Let's be precise about how 60,000 years ago, your ancestor's brain had a problem. It was too good at finding patterns. Not a bug, a feature, mostly. If you see a predator that isn't there, you waste energy running. If you miss a predator that is there, you get eaten. Evolution made the obvious call. Overcorrect. Always assume something is watching. Cognitive scientists call this the hyperactive agent detection device. HAD. It does one thing. Assumes there is an agent behind every event. Wind in the trees? Agent. A river flooding? Agent. A baby dying? Absolutely, definitely an agent. HAD doesn't care if it's right. It cares if it's safe. And this is where it gets interesting. HAD doesn't just see agents. It asks what those agents want. Because your brain is a social brain. It simulates other minds constantly. You can't turn it off. You are simulating other people's intentions right now, reading this. This is called theory of mind. Now combine HAD and theory of mind. You get a brain that detects invisible agents and wonders what they want. That is a god, not invented, inferred, by accident, from the exact same circuits that kept you alive. Nobody sat down and said, I will now invent a god. Someone heard a sound in the dark and their brain filled in the rest, and then told their friends. This is the second accident. Humans gossip, obsessively, pathologically, about other agents. Robin Dunbar showed 2/3 of human conversation is social information. Who did what? Who is trustworthy? Who has power? When you apply that engine to an invisible agent, you get theology. Theology is just gossip about someone who can't be seen. Now we need to talk about death. Humans are one of the only species that understands it is going to die. This is called terror management theory. Your brain knows you will die. That is an enormous amount of terror to manage. So the brain does what it always does with an unbearable problem. It outsources it. The afterlife isn't wishful thinking. It's a cognitive workaround. Experiments show that when you remind people of death, religious belief immediately strengthens. Not slowly, not after reflection. Immediately. The mechanism is automatic. It bypasses conscious reasoning entirely. You didn't choose it. Now add ritual. This is the third accident. Anxiety produces repetitive behavior in almost every mammal. Wash your hands, check the door, tap the wall 3 times. Anxiety plus agent detection equals propitiate the agent. Offer the agent something, calm it down. Sacrifice, prayer, dance, all structurally identical. They are all attempts to influence an invisible agent's behavior. And here is where it gets deeply weird. Sometimes the ritual worked, or seemed to. The rain came. You danced. The rain came after you danced. You caused the rain. This is not stupidity. This is how pattern detection works. B.F. Skinner showed pigeons develop superstitions in exactly the same way. Same brain, different scale. Now the fourth accident, and the one that made religion truly unstoppable. Coalitions. Humans are extraordinarily group-oriented, the most tribal species on Earth. Shared belief is the most powerful coalition glue ever found. It works even between strangers. You can coordinate with someone you have never met in a language you don't share, if you share a god. No other coordination mechanism does this. This is why religiously motivated armies are terrifying. They genuinely believe dying in battle is fine. The afterlife patch removed the most important tactical weakness a human has. Evolution did not plan this. It was an emergent combination. No single mutation caused religion. It was a combination of pre-existing features that suddenly clicked into a new configuration, like a lock accidentally aligned by a random key. Now let's talk about 100,000 years ago. The burial evidence. Humans started burying their dead, deliberately, with objects. No other species does this. Elephants nudge dead relatives. Crows avoid places where crows died. But they don't place tools next to the body for use in another life. That is an afterlife belief made physical. A cognitive model turned into action. This is the moment religion became real. Not a thought, an act. And once a belief becomes an act, It gets transmitted. Children copy ritual before they understand it. This is called the ratchet effect. Culture accumulates. Ritual becomes a tradition, becomes a law, becomes a civilization. Nobody planned any step in that chain. Now let's address the obvious objection. Wasn't religion also socially useful? Didn't it serve a function? Yes, absolutely. That's the point. But useful does not mean designed. Eyes are useful. Nobody designed them. Feathers are useful. They started as insulation, not flight. Religion is the same story. A feature that became load-bearing by accident. This also explains why it is so hard to remove. When something becomes structural, you can't just unplug it. Which is interesting. Because secular societies are trying to do exactly that. They are rebuilding the coalition and meaning mechanisms from scratch. With new materials. CAD is still running. You still see faces in clouds. You still feel watched in an empty room. You still instinctively assume the market, the government, someone is in control. The hardware hasn't updated. You are walking around with a Pleistocene threat detector in a world of stock markets and Wi-Fi. Religion didn't emerge because humans are naive. It emerged because humans are extraordinarily well adapted to a world that no longer exists. That mismatch is where religion lives, in the gap between what our brains expect and what the world actually provides. The ancient lightning storm, the terrified ancestor, the misfiring detector, all the way to Chartres Cathedral. One misfiring detection circuit, 8 billion people. No master plan, just a very successful accident that kept compounding. Which makes every cathedral, every prayer, every candle lit for the dead something genuinely remarkable. Not because someone planned it, because nobody did. And it happened anyway. Tonight, if you find yourself feeling watched in an empty room, that's HAD, the same circuit that accidentally built every temple on Earth. If you enjoyed this, subscribe. The next one is equally embarrassing for our species.